Hello and welcome to a fistful of D6s. This isn't a fashion statement, it's because my webcam just likes to pick up on the fan in the background, and all you'll get is the sound of a high-pitched whistling and you won't really hear my voice. So thus the headwear. Today on my show I'm actually going to talk mostly about the new Games Workshop paints that are going to be coming out on April the 7th. I actually went down to Warhammer World, the kind of headquarters in England today, into the store there, and had to play with the paints, had to play with the ones they've got there. I think they're possibly like a complete game changer. Citadel have become really competitive again. Okay, so what Citadel have done now is they've got rid of, they're phasing out the old paints, and they're introducing 145 new paints. These are actually completely new. It was originally believed that some of them were going to be rebrandings, so like Mordian Blue would be renamed. It looks like that is not the case. These are actually new formulas, completely reworked. Citadel do have a colour conversion chart up on their website, but they say that the colours might not be exact due to them being new formulas. After using the paints, they're well worth it. They're also not going up in price. They are staying at, in Britain, £2.30 per pot. And whilst the pot designs ostensibly haven't changed, the bottles work a lot better. They stay open as you need them to. They've been refined a little bit more, so they keep the paint in a better condition. It doesn't dry out as quickly, which was another criticism of the old style of systems. Essentially, the paints have been broken down into several subcategories that work in different ways and actually kind of structure how you paint an army and how it flows as a creative process. Basically, you start off with, you've got base, which is a lot like the current foundation paints are. They are designed to go on as your base coat, over your undercoat, either your black or your white, and to provide that solid base of colour. The really interesting thing about all the colours actually in this range, and especially the base coats for me, and the layers which are coming up next, is that you do not have to dilute them with water at all. They will go on in one smooth coat, don't obscure any detail, and I mean the amazing thing to me is that really bright colours will go over black in one coat. For example, Mephiston Red, which is a new base coat colour, which is a lot like the blood red in coloration. It's about that brightness. That will go over a black model, one coat, not obscure any of the detail, and it's perfect. It flows on lovely, and it has a lot faster drying time as well. So you find that you're not waiting for these things to dry. You're not waiting to actually kind of get on with the next stage. It's a really intuitive system the way it works. The layers are actually again straight on the model. They can go straight on, and they are again designed so that it's an intuitive way of painting them. Every time that they have a set that comes out now, they actually have the paints they've used listed in sequence, apparently, that will be being bought out, so you can actually follow the paints they've used in what steps and apply them to get the same results. Obviously the names have changed a little bit here, but these basically are the workhorse of your paints. They act as the normal Citadel paints did. So when you went foundation to normal paints, you'll go from base to layers now. There's also a specific range of dry brush paints. It's described as like cottage cheese. They don't run, but you apply them to your brush as you would, and you can dry brush straight onto the model, or you can kind of take it off onto the palette, so it becomes just like a powder. And it's a really nice way of adding colour and really bringing those details out. They work so well for doing that. Rather than washes, you've got what they've called shades. Shades act a lot like the washes. They seem to be a little bit darker, and they pool less, and they flow into the recesses more and give you a really nice shade, and can kind of control the shadow work you've got on a model. The last one in this specific range is the texture. The texture ones are really interesting. They're essentially paint with material suspended in the paint, and this can be painted straight onto a base, or it can be used for weathering, etc. And it will then provide a colour and a texture base coat that you can then do extra things to, dry brush over, add any other details. Essentially managing, if you want to do it that way, to turn around your basing time and not have to mess around with sand and PVA. I was told, but not guaranteed, that they would still be doing the sand and PVA for anyone who wants to do it that way, so they are keeping those options open. But certainly it's a nice addition. I mean, just looking across some forum posts actually to do with these issues, on a couple of ones, people are expressing some concerns that the glazes might simply be like inks from yesteryear, and that they could be just like leave models shiny. The glazes don't work like that. If the model underneath is shiny, so you've used a metallic, it retains that shine. But if the model is matte, then it doesn't. It has still a matte finish to it. Also, with the varnishes that are coming out, you can successfully dull anything down that you wouldn't want being shiny if that does occur. They're more of a translucent paint that doesn't have a specific attribute as far as shininess goes to it. We were given a little brochure with kind of pictures of what an ultramarine in that case there looks like at every stage. So we can actually kind of see how these paints are intended to be used. So I mean, we can dispel some fears like that. The formula has definitely been changed. What I've been told, apparently, is that this formula has actually been worked on for about 3 years. They've been focusing on getting this formula right. Essentially, and I think that the biggest thing I can say is that, I started to experiment and get Vallejo paints in. And I have used them and I've enjoyed them. But seeing what the new Citadel paints do, they're a real game changer. For anyone who's painting out there, they're so good to use. They flow so well. Every one of them has a use, and the colours are crisp. They work nicely. I just think that if you don't give these a try because you're against Games Workshop, or you think Games Workshop in the past haven't done very good paints, I think you're being foolish. They're so good. So very good that you need to try them. And if you try them off the bat and you don't like them, fair enough. But I've never seen a red cover straight out the pot like I saw that today over black. And in fact, you can actually the base coat white we had to go with as well, and that will cover straight out the pot over black. It takes 2 covers to get it perfect. But seeing as you'll be putting layers over that anyway, in fact, I mean, it covers on one layer well enough to enable you to build up the layers on top of it. So any White Scars players who want to spray the models black to get that initial shade layer, brilliant, absolutely perfect for them. I think this range is top of the game, top of the league. It's going to be the one to beat when it comes out, and the sheer number of colours they've got means that people are going to have to do less mixing. They obviously can if they want, but you're going to have to mix colours less, and you can actually just get a pot that is going to be consistent every time. And I think that's a really, really great addition to have. Got some new models out on their new releases. It's 2 Minotaurs characters who are really, really nice. Absolutely great sculpts. Some of the most dynamic poses I've seen. The chaplain who's in there looks great. He's actually got a skull helm, but with a helmet modelled on it, which is really, really nice. It looks a great model. Their rules are going to be in Imperial Armour Volume 10, Bad Ab War Part 2. We've also got a new kind of Chaos Demon engine, who are currently in experimental rules, but they can be downloaded for free. You can have a look at that. And there's a dragon, a type of dragon that's been bought out by them, called the Warpfire Dragon, that looks particularly impressive, and again that is in experimental rules, so they're going to be able to be downloaded, and have a look at them. I'm going to put the links in because they're gorgeous, but really, really have a look at them, and have a look at the experimental rules, and be aware that obviously these rules might change, but they're pretty nice. Privateer Press who do Horde and War Machine, which aren't games that I play myself. I'm trying to get into, but I haven't just yet. Have released some models on the 14th of this month. If you're into them, you've probably already seen them, but I will be posting a link in the descriptions that you can go and have a look. They are very nice models. I think a lot of the War Machine and the Hordes models, the stuff done by Privateer Press, is really, really pretty stuff, really good models. So even if it's just out of interest to kind of see some really good models, I'd really recommend going and having a look around their site. The other thing I was going to mention is that obviously I don't play necessarily all of these war games. I play Warhammer Fantasy and I play Warhammer 40,000. I'm looking at getting into War Machine. So if there is anything that I've missed that you'd like to hear news about, please let me know in the comments. I'm aware that I've probably missed some already, and I will try and keep up on the news. So we're on to my nemesis of sorts, Fantasy Flight Games. Don't get me wrong, I actually really, really like them as a company, and I think they put out some great stuff. If you don't know, they're the company that put out the roleplay games for Warhammer 40,000 Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader and Deathwatch. They also do Black Crusade in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and they do the Warhammer Fantasy in the Warhammer universe, as well as kind of some others. They've actually now put the Jericho Reach available as an e-publication download. So if you were wanting to get your hands on that, but you don't have a local hobby store, or they couldn't get hold of it, or you didn't get the physical version for whatever reason, get on that. Get on it. It's going to be an e-download, so it's not going to be expensive, and it will just sit taking up a little bit of space on your hard drive. I think it's well worth getting hold of. And they've also announced Deathwatch Honour the Chapter, which is looking to explore and expand and enhance the role of the successor chapters and how they work within the framework of the Deathwatch role-playing game. It's including new game mechanics, adventure seeds for the GMs and for players to get an idea of where they're going with the character, relics for each successor chapter, and hopefully a lot of background history. My issue here is it's listed as an upcoming release, which isn't usually a problem, not giving us a definite time frame or when we can expect to see it, because we'll get more as that comes in. But as it is Fantasy Flight games, any UK or Europe-based customers can expect to see this a lot later than it's released in the United States. The timeline for people in Europe actually seems to be far more hazy on all Fantasy Flight game releases. And last of all, due to this being called a fistful of D6s, I've been looking at a couple of custom dice sites. They are based in the UK, but they're a place where you can get all types of specialist dice, not just D6. And there is one where you can get custom dice cut. They do runs of, I think, a minimum of 25 dice. And if that's something you're into, give it a look. I think if you're outside of the UK and Europe, Chessex might be your best shout to get that done. It's the end of this episode. If you've got any questions or comments, positive or negative, please leave them below in the comments. I'm obviously quite new at this, and I know that will have come across, but if you have anything that you could say to further direct my attentions, or things that you'd like me to look at and include in order to make this a more pleasurable viewing experience for you, please do let me know. I'm always open to suggestions. Hopefully see you on the next episode. Cheers. In further directions. Paint just fell off next to me. I have to do that again.